All right, not gonna lie. Backer t-shirt right here. Oh, we got a backer right here. Oh. What's that say? What's that say? I don't know what this is. Yeah. So we have a backer person right here. Am I gonna be biased? I promise I will not. Chase Liaki here with the Blue Futon reviewing Shelby Oaks. So what's about pretty simple premise? We have a sister that wants to find her younger sister and she's been missing for 12 years and she went missing in Shelby Oaks. However, what is going to ensue? Who's this guy that shows up? And what are these dogs? What is this investigative journalism going to entice us? Is it going to entice us? So, all right, I am going to spoil this movie, right? I'm 100% going to spoil it. Because, like I said, I feel like I need to talk about this movie in general. I did like this film. I know I could say, yeah, the third act kind of faltered for me. It did. Where I was like, it was a little bit too clean and a little bit too, like, okay, I understand. But there was, like, little sprinkle of things in, like, between acts. I was like, well, I don't know if that makes sense to that level. Does that make sense to that level? But let's talk about it. Okay. So what I really liked about this one, it is a slow burn investigative journalist research type of horror film. It's nothing like Saw where it's like fast paced, like blah, 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 blah. No, where you're going to take time to understand each character, get to know them, and get to know their past of how they are, who they are at today. So I did enjoy that aspect to it. And, it is nice to see the Blue Futon actually in the film. If you actually watch the movie, there's a scene where it's like comments about where Riley is, and it says the Blue Futon want to know where Riley is. I want to know where Riley is. I really do. Okay, so getting there is very interesting because we are going to talk to, the people interacted with a lot of these different characters, right? Because we have to figure out who this Wilson character is that you've seen in the trailer that shoots himself in the foot, in the head, that has the videotape in his hand. We got to figure out what that videotape does and what is actually coming to be. And I think the overarching, incubus is a very fun character. I like how it is a very practical effect thing where you're like, okay, that shit kind of creepy. And it did have a lot of James Wan Insidious feels to it. And people might say that's tropey. Sure, I don't mind that when it's done right, and I do think 2/3 of this movie is done right when it comes to trope factors. So she is going back to Shelby Oaks. She's finding other locations of where her sister could be and what is actually occurring. Okay, so I did like that, the 2/3, right? Where I'm like, okay, where's this going? This investigative journalism, I like it. And then when the dogs start to come in is when I start getting a little bit like, because when the dog leads her to this house, I'm thinking, so are the dogs wanting her to be there? I thought they were, terrified, or they didn't want her to be there. And of course, there is backstory about, seeing a man in a window and it cracks the glass. Okay, I completely understand that, so I find that very interesting. Then when we get to this house, right, and we find Riley, right, and she's been in this basement for like 12-ish years. What has been going on for 12 years to get this one kid? That is where I think I'm a little bit baffled, right? That's where I think I'll get a little bit confused because this Wilson character that shoots himself in the head was in prison for 5 years, and he was the one that's kind of ingrained in this, having this horrorness in him. But I'm a little bit baffled by the mother character and at why he shoots himself, saying he's finally free. What is he finally free from? I guess I was a little bit confused on that level because he's in prison, right, for 5 years. They talk about the cell block thing. It's very creepy and things like that do work. But, at the same time, I'm really struggling with this guy and her being there for 12 years and finally have the kid for the first time. Did it really take 12 years to produce this baby? I that's where I'm kind of getting a little bit confused with this, I understand this mold, and I do think there's creepy aspects to that. I really do for that level. But okay, we get the baby, and Riley's sister, or Riley, is like, no, we gotta kill this baby because we think it's like the spawn of this incubus, things like that. But is it? And that's where I'm trying to get struggling here, because what happens at the very end, it seems like this incubus character wanted the big sister all along, because when the big sister was younger, was sleeping in the little sister's bed, apparently this incubus character is like, oh, I want her instead. But it really doesn't explain why it wants her instead of the little sister, because you would think that it would want to torment the one sister instead. But then the whole point is trying to say is they kidnap Riley to get the older sister to find Riley. But what makes you think that this bigger sister would have been looking for her for 12 years? So that's where I'm kind of thinking like, okay, I don't know if that part's really fleshed out of that. But, maybe some people do, but some people do kind of give up on finding their loved one. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So it's kind of like this incubus character's like all fingers crossed, because you would think at that point the dogs would be, in it the whole time. And why was this Wilson character, am I saying his name right? Yeah, the guy that shoots himself in the head, wait 12 years to get her. Like, and I said, there's little things like that where I'm just a little bit questioning about the whole ending of the movie. And then he wants the older sister the whole time, but for what reason? Why does he want her? For human sacrifice? I don't think that's it. Does he want her to have a baby with? I don't know. Because then what was actually possessing Wilson? Am I even saying Wilson's name? Is it Wilson? That's bothering me if it's not Wilson. Okay, it is Wilson, so I'm not a freaking idiot. But that's where I'm trying to figure out of like, why was he there for that long? Did he need to be there for that long? And what made him actually shoot himself? Like, was it the incubus character? I don't know. There's a lot of those things where maybe I got to watch it on a second watch to like maybe connect the dots, because I was, maybe I just didn't get it overall. But overall, Shelby Oaks, I enjoyed the experience for being a slow burn investigative journalism type of movie. I do like some of the found footage of it. I do like how it was shot, how it did switch back and forth between that. But again, the dogs I'm a little bit confused with. I'm confused with the 12 years, why it has to be 12 years. I'm confused with who the baby is actually and why he wants the main or the older sister more. Maybe it's supposed to be open-ended for that reason. I don't know. But overall, I think you would enjoy what is on screen, even though it is a little bit confusing or underwhelming when the final does show up. So Shelby Oaks will receive a 3.5 out of 5 with Futons, which equals at 70%. Let's do the critics and your scores gave this one. Critics, 59. Audience, 59%. I mean, overall for a new first feature, I find that pretty good overall with the 86 with critics, 250 plus with the audience score. Critic consensus. Shelby Oaks may stumble in its final moments, but its atmospheric tension and emotional core firmly establishes it as a chilling debut from director Chris Stuckmann. Sure, I agree with that. 59-70. Chase out here, the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. One of those Butontopia, your Blue Futonians. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. I can watch this today, tomorrow, a week from a month, a year from now. I wish you a freaking one of you. Peace and love, and stay safe from Shelby Oaks. Oh, and it's Ohio, of course, because he is from Ohio.